Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
From the beginning of time, humans have always looked towards the sky for inspiration and guidance. There has been a fascination with birds, stars, gods, goddesses, and other entities which seem to exist above us, and for many humans, a strong yearning to travel into space. Man has dreamt of flight since observing space, and now it is time to become the space traveller. The future of space travel requires us to understand from where we came, to see where we are going.
Several thousand years ago, philosophers Mozi and Lu Ban from China were looking to the wind for flight. They invented kites using silk and bamboo, allowing for the later development of communication, measuring distances, testing the wind, and lifting men.
The invention of the kite brought with it the desire to fly. The first known attempts at flight were typically by leaping off towers, known as tower jumping. People in China, India, and Europe first attempted flight this way.
In 1670, Francesco Lana de Tarzi published a book that showed some interesting concepts. The concept of copper foil in a sphere with a vacuum would produce a vacuum airship. This is still not possible with today's materials. Francesco is recognized as the father of aeronautics, melding science and mathematics into aerial navigation.
The Chinese are believed to have developed the first hot air device. The Chinese lantern using hot air from a candle can take flight and was first used for signalling. The hot air balloon achieved the first human lift and advanced to what we know of as the Zeppelin.
The first attempts at flight in a heavier-than-air flying machine were made by more than just the Wright brothers. Most attempts failed, however, they were the stepping stones for what was to come later. The oldest airport, College Park, is still in operation today.
Airplanes evolved rapidly through the century, from propeller to helicopter to jet aircraft, and most of that technology is used today.
During the Second World War, Germany developed rockets that could go a limited distance. The basic rocket technology used then is still used today. The space race started with the Soviet Union and the USA in 1957 and led to many developments for the next step, the moon.
The spacecraft assigned as Apollo 11 was the first spacecraft to have landed on the moon. The space shuttle operated at tremendous cost. Burning the fuel proved to be wasteful and dangerous technology. The International Space Station, ISS, is a habitable artificial satellite that was assembled in low Earth orbit in 1998 with the use of the space shuttle. The ISS can often be seen with the naked eye from Earth.
SpaceX, as a private aerospace producer and space transportation services company, was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of reducing space transportation costs and enabling the colonization of Mars. SpaceX reuses the first stage of their primary rocket, Falcon 9, by vertical propulsive landings. Although, up to present time, it still uses the rocket fuel burning technology. Mehran Keshe has always said, the time for burning fuels is over, but did we need to start with that technology in the first place?
Ancient cultures have suggested the use of an alternative means of transportation. With reference to possible plasma technology,
you can go to New York from Brussels within 2 to 5 minutes. And most of this 5 minutes is actually landing and getting up.
Mehran Tabakali Keshe was born in Iran in 1958. As the son of an X-ray engineer, he was introduced to the world of radiation and nuclear science at a very young age. In 1981, he graduated from Queen Mary, the University of London, as a nuclear engineer specialized in reactor technology system control. At that time, he developed a number of theoretical ideas related to more simple nuclear concepts and their applications. In 2002, he decided to finish the full design of his ideas about nuclear technology. This included the creation and control of gravity and energy by the use of nuclear materials in a clean and safe hydrogen reactor. Mehran Keshe introduced the concept of double magnetic fields to explain the magnetic and gravitational field of Earth.
Unknown by the existing scientific community, he wrote a number of scientific papers in 2004 and sent them for peer review, such as the creation of black holes. When one of the persons performing the peer review used his information in public, he decided to draw back his papers and to concentrate further on building prototypes.
Since the beginning of 2006, several prototypes of dynamic reactors have been built, some specifically designed to create hovering effects, similar to effects seen with magnetic levitation. Basic hovering effects have been achieved. 2007 brought the first flight test with radioactive material, in which the patents describe the process of the field interactions.
The main patent, Gravitational and Energy System, described the initial fundamental aspects of the plasma and uses. This was followed by the supplemental patent, Microplasma Reactors, where further uses and advancements were described. Mr. Keshe found himself in Iran in 2008 and was provided all the resources needed to create the first lift of a plasma reactor managed by the Iranian government. These special rotating gas reactors were used to control the plasma. To bring a deeper understanding, Mr. Keshe released the first book in 2009, The Universal Order of Creation of Matters, which contained many new concepts released to the public. This included the PMTIC plasma magnetic fields, initial fundamental plasma and plasma dilution technology used for space reactors. The plasma technology was further developed and it manifested in weight fluctuation in a controlled environment. 2010 introduced a new state of matter called GANS, an acronym for gas in nanosolid state. The GANS produces fields to be used in the operation of the spaceship. Advanced flight tests were performed in Iran with the guidance of Mr. Keshe and the newly designed systems.
Mr. Keshe tells us you can't bring all the doctors with you in space. Medical research advanced in 2010 and is still being explored daily all around the world. The Keshe Foundation has provided knowledge for dealing with many medical conditions in space.
A great example of plasma technology used for peaceful process is the capturing of the USA drone over Iran in December 2011. This drone was touted as one of the most advanced drones of its day and was caught by Iran using plasma to disrupt the communications. Plasma absorbs fields and the drone uses radio fields for piloting, a natural aspect of the plasma, a barrier of fields.
Book 2, The Structure of the Light, was released in 2011. This book brought forward the understanding of the structure of light as a cylindrical plasma where the light is in possession of all magnetic field strengths. Book 3, The Origin of the Universe, was published later in 2011. Mr. Keshe explained the further operation and interaction of different strengths of the same fields, which then leads to the creation of the universe. These 3 books bring forward a much deeper understanding of the plasma science that is applied worldwide by knowledge seekers and scientists in spaceship research and development.
There were 2 conferences to release the space technology to governments in 2012. The first international presentation in April, Keshe Foundation invited representatives of every country to the first presentation of the plasma technology. The second international presentation in September, Keshe Foundation invited the nations of the world through their ambassadors and their leaders to attend a gathering at the Keshe Foundation Center in Nenove, Belgium.
Space travel requires peace. The implementation of the plasma technology brings greater responsibility. In 2013, Mr. Keshe brought forward the World Peace Treaty. Signing of the peace treaty is a confirmation from yourself to your soul to act correctly in a peaceful manner.
In 2014, knowledge seekers came together from around the world to learn from Mr. Keshe, and many different experiments with reactors were performed, including improving the previously developed reactors to fit with the new knowledge, introduction of nano-coated reactors, multi-core GaN systems. The Spaceship Institute lab experiments were streamed live on the internet for all to see. SSI lab tests with reactors showed strong magnetic field pulses up to 129 Tesla and showed significant weight fluctuations. In December, an experiment was performed using reactors built by knowledge seekers from around the world. Italy, Germany, and Canada were involved in field communication tests. The tests showed that fields can interact with each other no matter the distance or time, resulting in instant communication.
In 2015, developments for space continued with different aspects of the plasma technology, such as in health, energy, and decontamination. In October of 2015, Mr. Keshe taught a popular week-long course called the Blueprint Teachings about how to build the MAGRAV power units. People from all over the world participated with building their own MAGRAV units and teaching others. With the demand of the Keshe Foundation products from all over the world, a new research center and manufacturing opened in Arizona, USA. Many developments of the technology happened in different parts of the world, and Keshe Foundation USA is no exception. John and the team started performing experiments using different sensing tools. These tools allowed the team to visualize the MAGRAV fields and to show others their interactions. With reactor formations showing positive results, partaking in the knowledge together is easier and more joyful than ever. The fun has just begun, says MT Keshe.
Mr. Keshe publicly teaches the space technology through the weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. Plasma enthusiasts from around the world participate in gathering the knowledge and putting the puzzle together in the space race. All people, irrespective of race, nation or religion, are invited to participate in the exchange of knowledge, thus assisting humanity to live within the ethos of the universe. It is recognized that international cooperation and peace is a prerequisite for mankind to journey into deep space. Individuals and nations are invited to come together in the spirit of collaboration and unity to enable peaceful application and the use of plasma technology for space travel, food, agriculture, energy, transportation, health and more. We are excited to release the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Blueprint to humanity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 411th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 16th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'm host in this workshop. And of course, as usual, we are joined with Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, and I believe he is ready to go for introducing today's topics and teaching. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute into adding to the knowledge of creation. In the past few weeks, we keep on expanding in a very deeper way of understanding the process of creation and how we as a human race have missed and what we're going to miss and what is about to happen to us in different dimensions and dominion of the creation. One of the biggest problems for transportation and transmutation is not carrying the whole of the information or the whole of the energy package. In the coming time, man will learn, like the way we have the RNA and DNA in a physical life, magnetic fields, plasmatic magnetic fields have the same. It's unknown to man, and in time as man becomes to understand it, will understand that magnetic fields carry not only field forces of positioning that gives them the structure of the physicality of existence, but on the same length, they carry the memory of what it is, where they come from and where they go to. Magnetic field memory of the field themselves is an unknown fact to humanity. It's something we never knew, we never considered, but in a time when we come to be transporting and transmuting, we need to know. When we send the physicality, where is memory? What is it going to be at the end of? Understanding of what we call as present time the RNA, the information part, then the physical part, which is DNA, becomes part of the game to be played for transportation and transmutation. Which means in a new system that we see, for example, the vertical units which are getting developed in Keshe Foundation, we can transmute the physicality, the dimension of the fields of an atom. But when it comes to the other end, how do you place the cell of the liver in its position and not in the brain, and the cell of the brain to know where to position itself and not in the kidney? This information carrying part of the plasmatic field is an unknown knowledge to humanity. In the coming time, as we teach more, we'll teach you about the RNA of the magnetic field, how you transport it, how you transmute it, how you bring to make sure the plasma of the physicality and the plasma of the information simultaneously carry the span of the universe. You get there in the dimension of physicality and never worry how to put this plasma together to be a sign of a human. It's not just carrying the fields, carrying the emotion, carrying the understanding of the structure, carrying in a way that it says, I'm a cell for reproduction. I'm a cell for conversion of the environmental energy into a physical dimension. In this atmosphere, there is no air. Is there a need for me? In this condition, there is no liquid. Do I need to adapt? Shall I show myself? Or do I become part of the memory bank of the plasma that next time when this plasma travels into another dimension and there is a liquid, I can survive it? The RNA of what we call the knowledge of the magnetic fields is hidden but very, very apparent once we understand the position of the gravitational magnetic fields of any entity. What we call the line of order, the line of communication within the structure of the body of the man. This is vital to us to understand that when we land on a planet which there is no need for arm or a leg, the understanding of the emotion of the plasma of the physicality and the emotion of the plasma of the soul of the man decide what shape fits you, befits you, how other creatures, other form of life have managed to exist in this environment, or what do I need to exist. I go back to the memory, the cell of the physicality in the RNA of the information, because there is no DNA of physicality, and I say I need a system to assist me to survive, to absorb the energy of this planet, this position and time in space, this galaxy. The RNA of the magnetic fields is sacrosanct in a dimension of understanding transportation and transmutation in the deep space, even though on this planet it might be easier. Nowadays, we pick a phone, we send an information, but we cannot send the emotion through the telephone line. We can express our emotion on the line for the other to understand. And even if our emotion is a sadness, they might read it as a happiness. Even though our emotion inside is entangled in joy, they might read it as a sadness. In the dimension of the plasma technology, understanding the transmutation and transportation of the fields of the universe, there cannot be such error. In this process, mankind will come to understand that the plasma technology of the space, the plasma technology of the deep space travel has to be understood in the emotion of the fields of the soul of the man, not the emotion of the physicality of the man, where the emotion of the fields, or what we call the RNA of the structure of the transportation and transmutation of the fields of the creation, will play magnetically a stronger part in conformation of the existence at the point of manifestation. If and when the mankind be able to see the field flows within the structure of a plasmatic field, they will see these lines of RNA of the magnetic field, the line of information, the line of order, the line of transportation and transmutation of the fields of the emotion will be carried for the first time with the entity in the dimension of the what we call transmutation of the fields. Which means the field, when it carries itself to arrive at a point of destiny, it's got a load carrier. One is the what we call the dimension of physicality, and one dimension of the information of the physicality, that in interaction with a new dimension, a new position is created. RNA of the magnetic field is more or less one of the last stages of the understanding of the process of the creation. Once man unravels the knowledge, once man understands how to carry the emotion of the soul of the man, or soul of the entity, then the soul in transmutation and transportation of the fields will bring that RNA to play, and according to his need, according to his structure, will create the physicality of the need at the point of manifestation. Humanity has got a lot to learn. Humanity has a lot to understand. It's not just I take you from A to B, but carry the emotion of you in a different dimension of physicality and pressure and existence. Mankind surely at the beginning will fail 99 out of 100 times of trying. But if you could understand the what we call the RNA, the information carrying part of the magnetic field, man will succeed to what we call conquer the space. Otherwise, as we've seen with many races, you'll be taking refuge in UFOs, flying systems, and all sorts of things to carry the physicality, and hopefully the emotion and the soul of the man in that dimension will still be within the dimension of physicality of the man. But those races who have matured to the point of understanding the essence of the creation and the creator and existence in all dimensions will know they have achieved what we call the Holy Grail of the creation. Transportation and transmutation of the emotion. Emotions of the soul. Transportation and transmutation of the information about the dimension of existence and the emotion. Then you can replicate a man in any dimension in the universe with understanding the same emotions and the feeling, but it might not be the same at the point of arrival. Mankind is about to become a true man of space when he understands the process of the conversion and transmutation of the information of the emotion of the soul of the man, and not only the soul of the man. One of the biggest problems for humanity has been to understand the strength of the fields of the emotion. We can see in the electrical systems the place of the joy or sadness within the brain of the man. But the signals are not, they do not exist, they cannot be transmuted and replicated if man does not understand when it comes to the process of the transmutation of the soul of the man, the plasma of the existence, the plasma of the source. In the coming time, what we call transmutation systems will be and will carry this dimension, which means not only man will see the soul, but man will see the emotion, understands it, and he has international language. If you go back to the past teachings, I touched on this a few times in a very, very soft way. As I said, when you see another soul, when you see another entity in the depth of the space, the color of the interaction will tell you the emotion of the entity. My friend, I want to touch you. I want to smell you. I want to be part of you. I want to love you. But these will come in the dimension of the interaction of the fields of you and the field of the entity, and in that interaction creates what we call space colors of interaction. The red, the blue, the greens are not the ones we see the way we are used to. We have plasmatic colors, which now we have seen sometimes, even with the production of gases, so we never understood. We just call it the green one and the red one. But is that red the same to my eye and to your eye? Is that red? Does it mean a danger, or does it mean a life-saving, or does it mean a giver of life? Why your CH3s are orange, and why your other hydrogens are all in the same color bandwidth? Isn't that the essence of creation of the fields that I want to give you? Does this mean that when we become passengers of the space, when we see these kind of colors, it means to us the source of energy? It won't give me. What happened when we see the dimension of when we produce the gases of the lead? Does that color or the spectrum of that color, when we see the depth of the space, means this object wants to take from me? It carries the emotion in respect to the color. It carries emotion in respect to existence. Mankind has to understand now the color of emotion, the manifestation of its presence. When you get angry, you go red. Does mean that you're feeling the emotion in the dimension of physicality. What we have to learn is the dimension of emotion of the fields in essence without the physicality. In the interaction of the fields, which is common in the universe, the same. When you see a given light, given features, given color, it means I'm in need. I'm not stealing, but do you have anything to give me in the energy level? In another color, it means I want to give. I have so much. I've become part of the creator. Do you tap into it? Say, I am short. I have this field of strength in me. I'm ready to take, but what do you want back from me? How can I give you from the essence of my creation in what you give me to stay within the boundary of the existence? Mankind in the coming time will understand the biggest mystery of the life of the knowledge is the understanding, the feel, the strength of the emotion of the plasma. Then you understand why when you put the magnets on the table and you add one more, it moves. It makes the other one move because I'm here to give you what I have. But we haven't created the technology to see the field interactions, the color of between these magnets, the joy, the happiness, the accommodation, the position. We do everything for you to find a place amongst us. And then you put a magnet on the table and it attracts the other one. What does it mean? Did you see the emotion of the fields before they interact? In the simple language of the man, they call it the North Pole and the South Pole. We call it the entry and the exit. But how does that entry take place? What is the emotion transfer between it? How many of you have created ganses and is trying to see if ganses pull each other? If the energy of the ganses bend, what happens when you put one gas in another one in the cup of what we call replication of the fields? What colors are in there? What we call in the liquid of the water which is in front of you? We are not trained. We do not understand. What emotion does the CO brings and what emotion does the CH3 brings? Who made them? How they were made? Were they made with the joy and happiness that the soul of the what we call the gas is a happy soul? And what happened when it goes in the bucket, when it adds its energy to the field of the waters? This color of the water, it means it's not good for me. But now you pick any cup and you put gas in it and you drink it because you haven't looked at the color of the emotion of the gas. You have not learned the knowledge of transmutation and transportation of this field within your body, what it will do. At the moment, we are at the early stages and we see some results and we follow it. But in the coming time, the way we have trained ourselves with the night vision, we'll train ourselves to see the color within the cup. It might be a color which is good for you, but not good for me. I don't drink it and I hope it'll become good for me. This is the part of the knowledge that RNA, what we call information carrying part of the plasma, which has been unknown to man until today. Those who will understand it, the races in the depth of the space who can conquer this will become those who will understand and be able to see the emotion of the creator as they have tapped in to the dimension of existence and understanding of the totality of the creation, not only in the magnetic field, but in the emotion of the field. Blessed those souls who get to the elevation and to the position that they can see these colors. A few races in the depths of the universe have elevated themselves in purity of the creation that they have managed to reach this point. It's not far when you become detached. It's not far when you become detached from the emotion of the fields of the physicality to the dimension of the emotion of the physicality in direction of the emotion of the soul of the man. Emotionally, you get excited, your heartbeat goes up. What happened when emotionally the plasma of the soul of the man get excited? Would it change his color? Would it change his emotion? Would it change his position? Would it change at all for you by positioning yourself and repositioning yourself for you to have a constant emotion of physicality? It denies you from observing his real true emotion. In the coming time, you will see the characteristics of the emotion, the strength of the field of the emotion of the soul of the man in a conformational existence and carrying the correct information for the physicality to befit itself in the dimension of manifestation. In the past, mankind had no knowledge of this. Now, as we said before, you understand. You're responsible to find the source of it. You're responsible to understand how to double load the soul of the man's fields and the soul of the emotion of the man's fields on the same track. When the field arrives, it carries the emotion of every cell of the body of the man. Otherwise, you'll have a man with no emotion, even though the soul of the man exists within it. A dead physicality, but with possession of the both, the soul of physicality and the soul of the man, because the information of the emotion of the soul never arrived, or is misguided, misdiverted to another position and time, and you have what they call the cabbage of the soul. Not much, it's just there, waiting for the information to arrive. The information of the soul, the information of the emotion of the soul. Humanity has got a lot to learn, but in understanding the way we create our systems, you can blindly follow that one day you might understand. The whole purpose of the teachings is not to be the man of today that you go to the shop and you buy a telephone and it doesn't matter what's in it, as long as I can hear, say hello, yes and no to my dad, I don't care what's inside it. With the knowledge of the universe, you have to understand every emotion and every transmutation of the fields of every entity before you become the true man of space. Otherwise, as it says, ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelt because we are carrying your physicality. And you have entrapped the soul. The spaceships of the soul of the man is within the soul of the man and not within the physical spaceship of a man. Understanding the knowledge and technology is part of the transmutation and transportation of the life. Part of the existence of the true life within the space. We are approaching the point where the man will understand that in essence, every creature is the same. Every field of the soul of the creature is the same. But it's the creation that it changes it in the dimension of the physicality. I have created man in the image of myself, not in the dimension of physicality, but in the dimension of the fields of the souls and the emotion of the fields of the souls, the information which carried within. But man is so feeble that he thinks the Creator has 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 eyes. I gave you the eye to see, but in the dimension of the soul of the man, I gave you the field, the strength to observe, to understand the emotion of the seeing, and not to be physically to see. In time, mankind will come to understand more and more. In time, mankind will come to mature to understand the process of the creation through the true way of the life of the Creator, and not by the way man has chosen the physical dimension. Maybe one day we become mature enough, we become, in a way, complete enough to be able to reach the dimension of physicalities, what we call magnetic field information, and then one day, in the coming time, some of us, some of the human race, the children of the Adam, as we call it, which is the Creator, might become mature enough to understand the process of the creation. We're approaching 21st of December. Many of you have set life to see the change to manifestation of Mitra. Mitra has manifested itself in the dimension of physicality millions of years ago. But in the dimension of physicality of the soul, not in the dimension of physicality of the man. In so many ways, when it comes to time of what we call Mitra, it means the time when the man will start to understand the full process of the creation. Not only for man, but for the rest of the creatures of the universe. Is the what we call the birth of the totality in understanding the love of the Creator when it's created. In coming time, many of you will endeavor to understand the process of creation through understanding the process of created. But if mankind is to achieve true knowledge of the creation, mankind has to walk away from what he understood about the dimension of physicality and life of the man. In the dimension of physical life of the man, I made man in the image of myself. I made man in the image of myself, in the dimension of the soul of the physicality and the dimension of the soul of the created in the soul of the man itself. Maybe one day, mankind will understand the process of the creation in true essence of it, and not by the dream of it. What will happen, the way it will happen, and the way mankind will decide for it to happen to itself. Many of you will come to understand the process of the creation, the true process of creation, through transmutation and transportation of field and strength of the systems. When we transport you from one enhancement unit into another, we don't transmute anymore your physicality. We have made teleportation. We have made the condition of transformation and transportation of the both the fields of the plasma of the creation and the fields of the emotion of the plasma, which has created that emotion and that physicality in the dimension of the emotion of transportation. In a way, the RNA of the RNA, in a way, carrying the information of the existence plus carrying the information of what it needs to exist at a point of manifestation or detection. In coming time, we teach. In coming time, we'll try to teach more. But for many of you, at this moment of time, all is important to see a UFO, to see you can fly. And then we talk about the rest later on. We leave it to our next generation to sort it out because we have seen and we believe in what we see. I gave an example in the recent past, and I go back to it for you to understand the reason why I gave it the example. You, knowledge seekers and a human race, would like to see a miracle, that miracle leads for you to understand, to see the light, to see a confirmation, affirmation of The possibility that by seeing the light, you see the light of the Creator, you see the light of the confirmation of the existence, and this shall show my power that what I can deliver. As I explained, and there are a number of knowledge seekers who can explain to you, I have made them to see the light. What you call the UFOs, what you sell the shooting stars. I never created the shooting star. I created the fields of the emotion of the soul, and the soul of physicality of the man reads an emotion and call it the shooting star. And we have made it possible that for 3 or 4 souls or 5 souls to see it at the same time, as we have a knowledge of the common denominator field, the strength of the observation. For me to confirm the totality of the control is that for every single one of you and the rest of the humanity at the same time will see the same light. It does not matter if you're in the North Pole or the South Pole, if you're under the ground or you are on the mountain. Then you will understand you all have seen the light. But has that light enlightened you with the knowledge of the creation? That's questionable. Or it just happened that even man in deepest caves will see the shooting star. Because we have created that impression through the soul of the man and not through the stagnation of physicality. In a way, we have put you in a state of dream. And we control the show. In coming time, many of you knowledge seekers will come to understand that the teachings of the past and what is going on now was and is to direct you to understand more about the process and of the interaction of the fields of the plasmas in the dimension of the GANs or in the dimension of physicality. Would all the ganses within the same pot decide one gans should be elevated and they all give their energy to that single gans? Would the shape and the emotion of that single gans in the dimension of physicality be the same now that it has received all these energies? Today, I have opened the rigma of the life. How you can unravel this rigma, it's your level of understanding about the true level of creation. How far, to what extent, as knowledge seekers gather the knowledge of the past to confirm the existence of the tomorrow for their own soul, will become the biggest battle for every single one of you. We have seen the corona and the mayhem which will come with it in the future. The strength of the emotion within you will decide if I want to be in this dimension. To be given, to be enforced, to be given, to be conditioned for my physicality to live, to be here, to accept the what can come to harm my physicality. In that process, now, because of the realignment of the fields of the emotion, of the physicality and the soul of the man, and understanding the interaction with the soul of physicality, you shall decide. Am I taking fields of the energies from the universe with all, not only the fields of energy, but the information carry a part of it? And what do I have to do and what do I have to give that create the emptiness for that to arrive? Humanity has entered the point of what we call creation. The true essence of creation, the true understanding of the process of creation. maybe one day, some of you as knowledge seekers will reach the point that you don't need to seek any further, but you understand the process and you shall see the light of what I call the emotion and RNA of the fields of your existence and your soul. At that point, you are mature to see the light of the Creator, and with it become part of, as you have seen, you become part of, because by seeing you have accepted to receive the totality of the knowledge of the RNA and DNA, both with information and physicality of the existence from the source, from the point of creation. The true essence of this comes, we're approaching what we call Christmas. And we all speak about the shining star, the Star of David. Is that star a true star? Or was it to be seen by the souls and accepted by the sum of the totality of the physical life of those who wanted to believe in seeing the star? And then, did that star emotion and information carry the same emotion and information in every single person who has seen them? Or was it just only for those who follow the path of Christianity? Now, the question of existence takes different shape. Is the Star of David the light through an interaction of the emotion of the fields of those who wanted to see the interaction and emotion of the fields of the Creator, or within the structure of their own soul? The burden of knowledge, the burden of learning the knowledge, the burden of understanding the knowledge is upon you to understand the process of the creation of the information, emotion of the soul of it. That with it, then you can take that and create essence of the source of communication and emotion of your physicality in any dominion and any position in the universe. Then you understand how we have lived amongst men for thousands of years, as we understood the process of the creation and transformation of the essence of the knowledge and balance energy of the fields of the soul of the man. I hope many of you knowledge seekers will mature to this point very fast. What we call the birthday of Mitra in coming days is the enlightenment of the man. The birth cycle of the creation as Mitra is amongst us, has been and shall be, in the essence of the confirmation of the soul of the man, not the soul of physicality. Those of you who will want to see Mitra with your own eyes, you will see the light of it on 21st. Those of you who are expecting to see the physical dimension of the birth will have a lot to learn, as you have to convert the dimension of the physicality from the source, from the top. Then humanity in one instance will mature. The teaching of today is not for faint-hearted. It's for those who are deep thinkers, who understood the process of the teachings of past years and can manage to convert it and complete it with the interaction of the fields of the man himself. As I said before, when we were teaching the physical dimension of the reactors and whatever, we needed 3 or 4 or 5 hours of teaching. Now that we teach in the essence of understanding, 1 minute teaching needs thousands of years of understanding. It's for you to decide if you have matured enough to understand part of it or the totality of it as you have learned to walk. Now you have to explore the ground. Break. If you'd like to go through a small commercial break, then we come back. And then we will carry on answering questions, because understanding a teaching of today needs many, many thousands of years of contemplation. Are you ready to go through a break?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. We can take a commercial break, you might say, and have a look at some products of the Keshe Foundation store. Okay, thank you. We'll be back in a few minutes to continue the workshop and open to questions from the public.
We are beings from the universe, living in nature, finding our way, making our path through time, looking for beauty. That is why we created the Keshe Foundation Guns Mask, to keep your beauty, to rejuvenate the skin and help it stay young through your life. The Keshe Foundation space technology embedded in the mask brings balance not only to your body and mind, but also balances your soul. Enjoy living happily in balance and beauty. Keshe Guns Mask, your beauty from the universe. Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
Okay, welcome back everyone to the 411th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 16th, 2021. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin the second part of the workshop here and entertain some questions?
Yes. Yes, with pleasure.
Okay, we'll see how entertaining they are here. We have a hand up that's been up since earlier in the workshop from Toby. So we'll allow Toby to talk if you wish there. If you can open your microphone, Toby, unless it was an inadvertent hand up. I'm not seeing that microphone open up. So perhaps we can go to Ed, and if Toby can figure out the microphone, then he can come in next.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we hear you, Ed.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. This is Ed from Indiana. My question is regarding the ability to see the colors of the emotion of the soul, of the RNA. I don't know how to express it exactly like you said it, but is that always the ability to see the color in a way? I mean, I know it's not physically seeing the color, but you talked about
the emotion of the color.
Can it be a feeling rather than a visual representation?
That's what it is.
Ah, good.
That's what we're talking about.
So why did you call it a color? Is that
because that's how you understand it? How else do you want me to call it?
well, I don't know. So many people
A human race have not managed to complete that kind of wording for emotion of the color.
Okay.
Or color of emotion, either way you put it.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have an example of that from my early childhood. I have a very vivid dream. I don't dream that much as a being on this planet, but in that time period, I had this vivid dream of like being out in space, and I was encountering these colored beings, and the blue ones were, I called them bluebies. They were the friendly ones. I could, because not because of just the color, but because I could feel the empathy or the connection, the love between these blue colored blobs versus the red colored ones and other colors that you might encounter. But for me, at least, that had the emotion of love attached to that color in that scenario. I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, Mr. Keshe, but it just triggered that memory for me.
So, Mr. Keshe, as I go along this train of thought, different souls, as they develop into this ability to see this emotion, will there be differences? And some will see it, some will feel it, some may hear it using I know I'm using terms of physicality, but each soul will learn to sense it in a different manner according to their own makeup.
Not really, because the way I've explained this in a teaching before, maybe we go over it. The way we as humans know what the emotion of anger is and how we sense it. We feel anger, we feel the emotion of joy. To us, that is what is joy. This emotion means joyful. Now we have to learn the same emotion in the level of the soul of man. There is no difference, but in understanding that you're leading with a different approach, more or less to the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
So we got to learn what it means in the depth of the universe. I want to eat you, or you're delicious, or I want to fall in love with you. Emotion of the soul, in so many ways, is similar, but in a different way than the emotion of the physicality. Because the usual emotion of the physicality has attachment and detachment, expectation, where in a dimension of the soul, there is no expectation.
That's amazing.
You see, when you love someone, you expect to be loved back. In the dimension of creation or the soul, you love, you give, you don't expect to be given back. But you know you receive it back from somewhere, not necessarily from the lover. But that gives you the emotion to give more. It's very hard to fall in love in the dimension of the soul, because it's a one-track line.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you,
Any
Mr.
other
Keshe.
questions?
Remind our attendees here in the Zoom meeting that they can raise their virtual hands so that they can ask a question and we can open the microphone. We have a question in YouTube from George. I have a titanium plate in my left forearm. Can I use the visual enhancement unit without problems? What advantages does the use of the visual enhancement unit have for my brain? Thank you.
Visual enhancement units are set up for a specific characteristic, a specific jobs. And it's in the position of the body that lower part of the body should not be affected by it at all. It depends what you can do. What is wrong with your brain, you expect it to fix. But these are a special system built for a special purpose. Or even the body enhancement units are not the same. We build them according to what we want them to do. The 48 for Arizona are built of 4 different characteristics to do 4 different jobs. It's not all just because it's a brain enhancement. We develop them according to what job they're going to do. Maybe you need to sit in 2 combination of 1 and 4, and somebody else needs combination of 1 and 3, or one needs 3 and 2. That's why we bring doctors and we train them to how to use in which combination for what purpose. If you have a stroke, your arm and leg are damaged, you don't need the vision. If you're blind, you don't want to get your arm and leg working because already they're working. So you have a problem with your cataract, but you have another problem with a connection with the what we call neurosystem of the part of the brain regarding your vision at the same time. Systems are set up for different applications. Any other questions?
Okay, in the Q&A here in the Zoom chat, we have delivered from Cristiano a question from Brazil, from Marco. 2 questions, actually. Do we have the same intuitive equipment as the animals? And when are we going to believe that? Was the first question.
Can you translate, please?
Well, do we have the same, I don't know, intuition as the animals? I'm not sure.
What intuition?
Yeah, that's the question. I'm not sure what he's referring to. Intuitive equipment as the animals.
Yeah, brain.
Perhaps we can go to the second question and he could clarify if he needs to. Second question, Mr. Keshe, as we have one magnetic hand and one gravitational hand, would it be possible to absorb the energy of the universe with the gravitational hand and transfer that energy with the magnetic hand? If it is possible, please teach us.
We already do it. We absorb 80% of our energies from the environment, and most of it is done through our fingers. When you put a position of attraction and a position of repulsion, or one hand giving, the other one taking. At some points, for fields to add up and be together, you create friction and create light, and then you see what you do. If you, in ancient time, today's man has lost that capability. If you could hold your hand in a specific way, that you bring together the conflict of the fields, then you can create a light in between your hand. We've shown this, it can be done, and it's very easy, but it takes a lot of energy. But you can tap into the universal energy fields with the position of your fingers and just receive that energy and create that light. But that light energy is not in the vision necessarily of the man, but it's in the essence of the energy of the soul of the man. You will see the light through the soul. It's one of the first practices that you will do when you become aware of how to use your soul and confirm the existence. With the eye, you don't see, but with the eye of the soul and the observation of the soul, you see. You don't know, where am I seeing a light when there is nothing? Then you understand you're reaching that point of maturity. The biggest problem with humanity is that he accepts it if it's in a visual sense to him, or in one of his five senses. Mankind has to learn to transfer this into the emotion of the soul, and then you will see the difference. You will see different lights, you will see different understanding, you feel different emotion, but you still see, you confirm the existence.
Okay, he also adds, thanks. Come to the teachings in Portuguese language on Fridays. We miss you.
From where?
They have a weekly teaching, apparently.
Yes, I try to go everywhere.
Yeah.
And I had a complaint from the Iranians yesterday. They want to transfer the teachings from Wednesday to Mondays, because when there was Mondays, Mr. Keshe used to turn up. It's just having the time.
Yes, as it is, I'm not sure how you are able to be everywhere all at once. It's kind of like Santa Claus.
I was yesterday in negotiations, and it's amazing how much energy is wasted. I was in the 5+1 negotiation group, and you see how much waste is sitting there just to satisfy the ego. And after a few minutes of it, you just want to walk away. It's not there to support humanity. It's there to support ego of the few leaders. And when you walk out of it, you feel you've been in the chamber for 20 years. The energy depletion is amazing. And it's not easy. It's not an easy way to do it, but it's the only way to do it. Physically being present and doing things. When at the moment we're involved in so many different directions and works, but somehow the energy comes, somehow you manage, somehow you still find free time to do things and to be part of. I'll go back to this because knowledge seekers, especially Universal Council and supporters, the negotiation is running into a rough time. It's little lights here and there, but overall we need a lot of support. We need a lot of support. Is what I see from close quarters is going to fail, because the egos, our leaders, are bigger than what we call what can physically be delivered by one or the other. Yesterday, in understanding, and the day before, and last week, it drains you to see how collaboratively people are set to destroy each other. And interesting is how collectively they agree to do the same. Demands unnecessary suddenly pops out because we don't want to do it, you accept, we change something else, And it's the responsibility of us to change these, the soul of the leaders and negotiators. And we need a lot of support. I don't get disheartened, but I see the next step, the next stage, and what can be done, and how people walk away, or how people create a condition for the others to walk away to confirm that they were doing something. We see some lights, we see we had some positive results, as we see, but there's still a long way to go. And it can literally fail, and we'll see after Monday, Friday, particularly Sunday, how will it take shape further. But there is some small breakthroughs, but we'll see. We need a lot of support from all the knowledge seekers. And it is an exhausting job to be in these, to try to be and trying to get people to see.
Well, Mr. Keshe, that gets into the gist of Paulo's question here in the Q&A. Let me read through it here. It says, Mr. Keshe, the prophets of the past, despite offering good news, warned of difficult times. And apparently we are already in an era of limitations for human civilization. With plasma science, it opens a promising path for humanity without any fatalism as indicated by the prophets. Question: if we don't align with the ethos of the universe and we don't get a peace treaty between the nations, can we enter into an era of cataclysms on Earth as a purge and correction of the course of human civilization?
The time of purging is finished. The time of maturity and understanding. What is very interesting for us in the dossier which is submitted by Keshe Foundation to negotiators is very simple. I'll read you from one of the pages of it. This is a long submission, which is in a beautiful hard copy. And what interested me and some of the people who are involved is that, just open it to read it for you. It's a beautiful one day it will be published. It's we put into dossier of negotiation. It says Iran will share collectively and develop new technologies with all nations. If agreement for sharing of this new technology is not reached with Iran on these bases in Vienna, Iran sees as its right to share the new space purification and the space defense technology with any nation as it reaches its goal of technology in exchange for permanent peace. And this is a problem for world leaders, leading nations, to commit their nation to permanent peace. And we are very clear. We are very clear. We are not there to give what we call put condition on sharing technology. We are giving it freely to the nations if we don't reach 5+1 agreement. And still to them is hard to accept that they have to share technology because then they lose their superiority. And in another paragraph of the material, which is with the negotiators, it says, Iran puts no condition for collaboration and sharing of this new technology and knowledge with 5+1 and other nations to produce pure plasma nuclear material for space, energy, and defense. And this is, again, another part of it. So our message from Iran is clear. Iranian nation, Iranian leadership. Iran is prepared to share openly with 5+1 the full plasma preparation, which means we produce nuclear materials at 100% rate. And they cannot believe Iran is prepared to share such a technology. When we wrote this document, when we put this document together, the condition was that we share openly. And it's hard for our leading nations to accept that they have to become equal with the other nations in knowledge and technology. And this is the hardest thing which I see. And it's totally unbelievable how some of the world leaders and people who like to keep the superiority do not want to sign themselves into peace. What is going to happen? What is about to happen? What is there to happen is many dimensions of physicality, what I call bribery of the largest scale, and all sorts of contracts that we have if we do. And what they don't want. If you're in negotiation, you understand 80% of demands from Americans has nothing to do with nuclear industry. 80% of American government demand of 5+1 and the European in the same way is nothing to do with nuclear industry. One of the major demands of President Biden is that Iran do not supply any electricity into Iraq or Afghanistan from their main supply grid to support two nations. This is unheard of. When we hear it in the negotiations, we just pull our hair. Iran as a nation supports other nations, cannot put electricity into nations to support. Nothing to do with nuclear industry. It has nothing to do with what we are there for. And we have to oblige to get the sanction moved. Don't help your nation. Don't help your neighbors. How come France has agreed to all of the Europe if Britain falls short of energy, taps into a French energy system because they have a nuclear power they're guaranteed? The same with the Germans. But if Iran does it, is a criminal, it has to be sanctioned for. I sometimes, when I look at the negotiators, Iranians, and look at them, I just cry. What the heck are we here for? We just give and give and give and give for what? Not to do. We want to share the technology. We are sharing everything. No, you cannot share because the others be equal to us. There's an amazing construction of hypocrisy, idiocy, and a lot of other things. And it's not only from the Americans, it's worse from the Iranians. Give us this, give us that, we do this. This is my bank account, this is yours. Little achievements, but in general, totally tying hand up a nation to do anything. What does energy supply to your neighbors, which are in short of, got to do with negotiations on nuclear power, or what they call nuclear weapon? Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have a question from Jan in the YouTube, who asks, what is the fastest way to converge the soul of the physicality with the soul of the non-physical part of our being? What is the secret key? To die, okay. He wants the secret key. That's it.
Soul alone. That's it. That was a funny answer to it, but is understanding the trust that, I mean, that's the answer to the human being today. But we call it sacrifice, we call it martyrdom, all sorts of names put to it. But in reality, is to understand the work and the connection. In ancient time, they were races that, for example, could retract their fingers and extend their fingers. They could retract their arms and extend their arms as they needed. For what we call saving and not taking what you need from an environment, or for protection, or whatever. And because they had control over the emotion of the soul of physicality. We all can do that. It's not hidden from us. We just ignore the access to it. We just have created the blockage that we don't hear. I said this is like a bell. You know, when you live near a church and the bell goes every hour, ding dong, and it goes cling, and you hear it. When you live by the church so long, you don't hear the bell anymore. Your soul of physicality, your physicality has decided, I'm ignoring it. But accidentally, you hear the lunch ding dong. It's the same. We have decided not to listen to the ding dong of our soul. And now we want to wake up. There's a lot of clotted information in between. We need to dust to be able to get to it, and then we'll see it. It's not that it's not there. We have created these barriers for not to hear it, not to confirm its existence. Unless you find a ladder to the Creator in a different way, or to your soul. If you go to Vienna, the main church in the center, It's very funny what they've done. They put a ladder on top of the church. It's the steps to the Creator. How far you can go with it? And they lit it every night. From the church, you can find your way into the depths of the universe to the Creator. But now they give you a physical step, what they call it, ladder. It's us who has created the steps of that ladder for ourselves over time. And we made this ladder bigger, longer, with more steps. Where we actually, when you go to full length of the ladder, is twisted and come back to the same point as where you are. It's a funny way, because you don't see the end of it, but you don't see that the end comes back to you. It's us who makes it longer or shorter according to our way of belief and understanding. It's very much what I call Tenerife camel ride. In Tenerife, if you've been, I've talked about this before, you see hundreds of camels all sitting there for people to go for a camel ride, and they go into the mountain. You see them going in. But what you don't see, they just spend about 2 minutes in there and they come out. They got a closing on the mountain, then it goes around the post and it comes back out. And you went on a camel ride, you think you're gonna go there for a long time. It depends how we made that hole and how big we made that loop. We have denied the knowledge to ourselves. We have denied the affirmation of the existence and the communication to ourselves.
Question in the YouTube from B. Berman. In the spiritual world, many people talk about opening of the third eye, the pineal gland. Could you please shed some light on how to open our third eye? Thank you.
Isn't pineal gland the way of they trying to tell you you get access to your soul? We don't hide and duck and dive, we just go directly for it. Isn't the third eye your soul? But you become aware of totality because it's a creator. In different time, different generations, different what I call intellectual understanding, the same thing has been explained in different ways, and so people could think, understand it, they follow it. Now with the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, there is no ambiguity, it's there and there. You can find out where you try to hide it. Why do you need a third eye when you have access to your soul? And if you look at the position of what they call the gland, and look at where we tell you your soul is. Not very far off, is it? Because people up to now couldn't understand that the soul of the man is within the structure of the man. So now it becomes pineal gland, it becomes a third eye or what. If you manage to get to access to your soul, you can call it anything you like. And we are not doing it, we are not teaching it. We are enlightening you to understand, to find it yourself. Mankind has not been kind to himself and has denied himself many, many things. Any other question?
Antonio asks, dear Mr. Keshe, someone told me that the sanctions on Iran have been dropped. Is that correct?
I don't see it, but they drop it, we could go and collect it. No sanction has been changed yet.
And negotiations
They're talking
are
about making it public, or they're going to do this and that. It's a hypocrisy in negotiations.
they'll be ongoing for another month. Is that true, or
It goes
just another couple of weeks?
until Sunday night, and then we'll see. Most probably Sunday, the team will return back to their countries, because after Monday next week, it's a Christmas and New Year. Most of the European negotiators go home for their holidays, and we are having the Christmas Eve on the Friday, and the negotiation will stop on Sunday night, more or less, and then they return back to their countries for consultation with Christmas and Father Christmas, and they come back after that, if it comes back. There's a very high possibility that they might break up. We are back in tomorrow and see, maybe this afternoon, to see how and to the extent we can push the whole structure. It's very, very difficult. These negotiations are very much one-sided gun policy, shotgun policy, I call it. And the Iranians are not helping it much. Well, we are back in maybe this afternoon, or maybe tomorrow for sure. That's the last stage. And then we'll see. We still need a lot of support, and needs a lot of understanding. The reality is the complexity of the sanctions on different organizations, different people, for randomness is for sure one of the problems. But our diplomats, Iranian diplomats, are very not seasoned diplomats. They're not mature in negotiation. And that's one of the problems with the Iranian team. Our Americans, and the Americans were sitting in London, more or less, not in Austria. And both the European teams, the British team, are extremely seasoned. They understand how to play. And Iran, the European and the Americans play with diplomats, seasoned diplomats. Iran doesn't have that. We have a government that's been in power for a few months, and cousins and uncles and son-in-laws and brother-in-laws have been put in position to negotiate to make sure the, what do you call it, private bank accounts is looked after. It's a very dirty game, extremely dirty game. Any other question?
Antonio ends his question. Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Keshe, and to all who, that are working for peace. God bless those who are serving humanity for a better future. Antonio.
Thank you very much. Christmas is next week.
Yeah. Okay.
I call it the birthday of Mitra European version. We chose 3 or 4 days different. Somebody said very nicely, very recently, that, do you know what's the difference between 21st and 24th and 25th? He said, if you gather all those 1 seconds every year, it's going to become shorter since Mitra has come, rather than the 3 or 4 days difference. So we'll wait and see. And in a way, the birthday of Mitra is a celebration for confirmation of the world of physicality to mankind and to the world of creation. Any other question?
Andrew asks in the YouTube, is it best to try to receive the fields at dawn when the birds are singing?
Would you like to be on board of a plane and dawn will be all the time, 24 hours a day?
And the birds are always singing?
Well, it's always singing. Unless you're in Italy, they've all been eaten, so not much left to sing.
Wasn't that the first thing that they do in the desert to create an oasis, is to bring birds in, or when they create an oasis or find an oasis, they set up and bring birds in to,
I don't know.
They like that in the Middle East, apparently.
I don't know. It just attracts it because it's the source of water, the source of life. When you have oasis, you have a water resource. So anything flies over, it will smell the water, we'll see. The birds and the beast. We were watching, we're trying to do some work in Iran, building their space center. And we get videos of the different lands which is on offer that the space center can be built. And one of the videos is very extremely beautiful, is where we see is literally desert and there's one water hole. And you see the gazelles and all the animals know where this water hole is and they come to drink and go. And you see them in line, that one water hole, which has been there for centuries, is where all the animals know. And they come and just drink and go. And that's a normal way. In the middle of nowhere, you see this. I'll send you the video somewhere. This is amazing when you see. Man will find, like, even in the space, we'll find places where the fields are to our taste, as I call it, and we just go there to absorb tastes of the fields, that we could taste of the banana and the rest, and say, oh, memory bank, RNA memory magnetic field says this was a taste of banana on there. But would it raise the same emotion in the dimension of the soul? It's a different matter.
Okay, we have a couple of hands up here, Marinez and Salamia. Marinez, if you could go first.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, Rick and everybody. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for giving another point of the puzzle today. In fact, in deciphering course I just attended a few days ago with the Jalal, it was a teaching of you about RNA and things, I think. And in my way of looking at things and nature and creation, I talked about something to me seems like law of creation. And somebody said law is for us, humanity, we don't have law. I think that's what you said today is order. And I was thinking, and then they say, so what's the RNA? And I thought all of a sudden probably that RNA is something in this law. And then you talked about it today. So for me, that's already clean what it is. We are getting close to handling the puzzle. Thank you. And thank you for sharing with us these emotive things you see. And I was just thinking that in Muslim rituals, when they do, for example, 2 or 4 series of prayings, for example, we decide for 2, and then we bend down, and then we prosternate with 7 points of the body, like the toes, the knees, and the hands on the floor, and this part they call third eye, something between over the eyebrows to this part. And at that moment, they do a mantra, something like, God is pure and I glorify him 3 times. And I had always noticed people who do regular playings, like we have grandmothers, things like that. They were very calm people. Like they come home as stressful, they do prayers of the day they hadn't done, and they become comfortable. I tried it once myself a few years ago. I did a few, and I got very calm. And I think this part of the over the eyebrow, which we put on the sole, on the floor, that's the part which is what they call third eye, or in front of the soul, or the energy center. And I just wanted to say that in the rituals they had found the parts. Of course, the person has to be sincere, very important, sincere and detached, kind of, I'm there just to see what I feel. And so they had found out this part, how to give benefit to man through this. Of course, these days, I think people forget it because they are just outside of what they are doing. So maybe they don't feel it, but if we do it, we feel this difference. We just feel like we are empty when we do that, this part. Or some people, they cannot, they are sitting, they cannot, they have problem of back problems. They just put something of like a stone or something on push it on this part of their front instead of bowing down. And usually they are calm people. I think nature of Iran, other than these days, are used to be very calm and in good health, because I think this could help them to just get rid of emotions and things like that. And I think people of Iran have lost their confidence on themselves because of all these things. They talk about them and show the bad side. So I hope that everything will win. Another question, can we do some mantras when we give from our souls? For example, there is a mantra in Islam, in Quran. He says, you, oh you, it addresses God. Say, oh you who bring answer to anybody who is in urgent need. And they say it when they have an urgent problem. Can we do that when we give from our souls for example, for peace or something, or just give from our souls directly is more efficient? That was a question. Anyway, I can handle my answer. So I really thank you very much, and who knows, we can.
Do I have a problem in the bandwidth, or is it madness?
My telephone, maybe.
We can hear her. Do you mean it's cutting out for you?
My bandwidth. Okay, no problem.
I think so. Could you hear her question?
It just breaks up sometime in bits.
Mm-hmm. So
the last part, no, that's why.
Yeah, I said if you don't answer, I kind of will find my answer of if I give it with a mantra, like ask Creator to bring my answer, to realize my wish, or just giving from my soul purely to what I am pointing it to. Some people have problem. I saw they said, is there a ritual for giving from our souls?
No, we never create these kind of things. You got to go within yourself to find it.
Thanks.
We never made holidays to be on a Thursday or a Monday. We never made temples to worship towards. We'll never do anything to create that kind of ritual.
Shortcut. It means we are getting mature if we can do it directly.
There is no shortcut till you understand it. Pardon?
It means that we are getting mature if we can do it. We have reached the point of maturity of our souls, our being human. Thanks.
More or less.
More or less, of course. Well, if you are sincere, we arrive somehow, I think. Thank you very much, sir. Good luck.
Good.
Okay, thank you, Marinez. Salamia is next here with a hand up.
Yes, thank you, Rick. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello, everybody. I have a message for these negotiators. I'd like to express my soul of heart and soul of man, which is part from the divine soul. Please be mature.
Can you repeat?
Yes. Please, dear negotiators, be mature and understand that all humanity is like a body. The humane body of humanity. Please allow to help each other. Please allow to help people which suffers, people which are in misery. We are human beings. And this is our nature to help each other. We can change our human nature, which is divine natures. We are created by the divine race, by the godness, Mitra, and the creator, beloved creators. Sodoma and Gomorrah, this history has to stop to repeat in humanity, because at that time it was prohibited by the law to help our neighbors, to help our relatives, to help our people in need, to help each other. For this reason, we have this history in the Bible to understand and try to do not repeat the same mistake of the history. Try to learn from our mistake. Humanity needs all humanity. We are equal. All nations has a soul, and each soul of each nation is equal. It's not easy for people to understand this. I can't agree, but it's time to change our paradigm and understand that all nations Now in the pandemic context, when God sent this blessed virus, has to be together as one on equal basis. Try to awaken. And humanity do not need leaders. Humanity needs souls which help each other. Humanity needs all souls together as part of one totality, because this is a reality. Plasmatic reality is to be together, but we create a reality separated physical world. We created in reality separated minds and heart. We have to work together in coherence, heart and soul of man, spirit and soul, mind and heart, at one beat with the beat of the planet, with the beat of the sun of our system, solar system, and our universe. Please be wise for the future of our children. We need to live in abundance because the universe is abundant. Universe knows only abundance, never scarcity. And we create material energy, material, raw material, and we fight for access to limited resources, but the resources of the universe are unlimited. This is a truth, and we know the truth. We knowledge seekers. We understood the plasma science from Mr. Keshe and all other teachers. We know the truth. It's time to share this plasma science, this blessed from the Creator, with all humanity in an equal basis. Let's be good brothers and sisters. In family, we are equal. Family of humankind is equal at the soul level. Our soul is pure. Our soul has love. Our soul is pure and fill it with unconditional love. I send you to all beloved negotiators and leaders of the world. I send you all my love, unconditional love, to heal this planet from this pandemic and from scarcity. Abundance is a law of the universe, and you will have access to abundance, and we will share in equal basis the access to this abundance of the universe. Everything is energy, and all what we need energy. And energy is free from God. Energy is from the heart and the soul of the God, as in our soul. We feel it. We give free from our soul to entire team of the negotiator to be our guide for our future, a new future for humanity, a bright future full of energy, which is created from abundance and not from raw material. God bless all negotiators. God bless all leaders of the world, spiritual and political leaders and economic leaders, all kind of leaders. God brings wisdom, maturity, and unconditional love. When we love all humanity. We never sanction a part of our body. It's like a boomerang. When we do something bad to a part of our body will feel it, because all humanity is a body. It's time to understand this truth. It's not a way to go back to primitive knowledge and behavior. It's time to start a new era for humanity. Our beloved Mr. Keshe, all his life dedicated to bring peace and unity on this planet. And we follow him and we consider him, we love him with all our heart, because he's true. He wants the good and beauty of all humanity. Much love, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, good morning. It's Dean speaking from the Lynch studio. When the peace negotiators, when a person from a very early age receives something that traumatizes them, do they carry that feel strength forward into their adult life so that they continue to act in a certain way?
What do you mean?
I think many of us are have a condition that may affect us when we're young, and it traumatizes us in some instance, whatever it is, for many different people. And so that feel strength gathers within the physicality, within the emotion of man, and this trauma can then be carried forward, and then the plasma grows, and it's enacted upon, and so in the first instance it traumatized the person, and then that person could gain some authority or position, and then they could use it to reposition a nation and beyond. And when does that particular person or instance come to a position of enlightenment to realize the position, the stance they may have taken?
You may need to rephrase the question, Dean. I think it went a little too long here, so end of the
Okay.
toward the end of the workshop. I think Mr. Keshe is getting tired.
Okay. Thank you, Ray.
No, it's just that the way it appears, we're responding simultaneously. Some questions was coming from other sides. That's why I move out to do it. The situation is not easy at the moment. And how can we reach the soul of these people? How can we enlighten them? I just received a message from IAA, which is disheartening. And you have no answer in just a few minutes. How do we work? How do we see? How we break these barriers up? The people we put to lead themselves are led by the others and apply to the confirmation of their own lack of existence. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, will a deal on the UN atomic watchdog replacing the cameras so that this can be a new position, will this help the condition?
We have a big problem. In Iran, we have a very big problem. And this is part of the discussion. We accept to replace the cameras. This is a discussion just Russian have brokered. What it is and what I've reasoned, you got to understand. We see things differently. It's a big concern for Iran. And I have reasoned that in discussion. Israelis have used our people using UN cameras to identify, pressurize, and sabotage. We have a big problem with UN cameras. UN cameras are positioned inside all sensitive areas, supposedly to watch Iran doesn't do anything. But the Israelis, which IAEA directly feed all the videos to, identify the stuff, and then they pressurize. They cajole, they bribe, they work on them. And this is what part of the problem. Our problem is not IAEA watching it. It's the abuse of cameras by IAEA in recruiting or creating damage within the structure of the Iranian nuclear industry. And this is it's unknown outside. And I don't see any way to solve this problem. And you have hundreds of people, they target sensitive people and they work on it. And this is part of our problem. And is not objecting to cameras watching, is objecting to the use of the cameras by Israelis in identifying stuff, sabotaging negotiations, technology, and all. And it's not just the cameras, it's the application and information use.
We seem to have a camera, Mr. Keshe, in many, many different positions now. We also have this camera that is our soul that watches everything. We have this position in each and every moment. So in each and every action that we take, we watch ourselves. We're aware.
It's not to be watched, it's if one watches his own self. I was talking to some people recently about China. China, they can pinpoint you within 10 minutes with the cameras where you are. And it's the same. It's the use of camera, use of camera. And it needs to be understood how we watch ourselves without the camera. We can watch ourselves. In the past couple of weeks, when we do the teaching, there's a lot of pressure because we are live on negotiations as well. So it just takes time. You watch how lies have been told and what lies have been told, and how information is abused. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a hand up from David from Brazil, it looks like. Could you go ahead, David?
Olá, falando português.
Rafael.
Oi, Rafael?
Do we have anybody to translate?
I think Raphael's here. Let me just, don't know if he has a microphone though. There we go.
Hello.
Raphael, go ahead.
Yes.
Rafael?
Hi, Mr. Keshe. Hello.
Hello.
Oi, David, pode falar, por favor.
Bom dia. Rafael, eu gostaria de fazer uma pergunta ao senhor Keshe da seguinte maneira. Devido às mazelas que está acontecendo no mundo, Covid, as mazelas de modo geral, né? Em resumo, e principalmente também esse acordo de paz que não está tendo dificuldade em sair. Gostaria que o senhor Keshe explicasse se não, como assim, deixa eu melhorar assim, Satanás está trabalhando de forma para que isso não aconteça, se está como ele está.
Tá, deixa eu fazer.
E como o senhor Keshe vê
Can you translate what he's trying to say?
Esse conflito.
Só um segundo, David. Só um segundo, David. So I was trying to understand his question, but what he said is regarding this problem that we are going through in the world today, and this difficulty with the peace treaty between the nations that's happening. He's asking more, I would say, a religious question. He's asking how Satan is working for this to happen, for all these problems happen.
What does that mean?
Davi, se pode ser mais claro? Ficou claro.
Ficou não? Pronto, como está acontecendo no mundo espiritual, esse conflito de Satanás e Deus.
So he's asking how is happening, if you can answer, what's happening in the spiritual level, this conflict between God and Satan, because that's what it seems that's happening today with this problem in the world that we are going through, and with these negotiations it's been hard to get a peace treaty between them. So he's asking the spiritual world what's happening.
We are sitting in a position that most of us don't want to understand, or most of our leaders don't want to understand. They are part of the humanity till their seat is gone. It's not Satan, it's just that they think they're above everything and they can go through everything. The example of it is your president. I was in the American teaching on Sunday, and I don't know, I wrote to you, Rafael, in the background, can you explain to me what's happening? And he was explaining afterwards by I think, someone in the American teaching, that the Brazilian president has refused, or what do you call it, abolished the vaccination book and passport, they call it. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Keshe. But the problem that he's going through here is that this power is within the governor of states and not with the president. So, but he for himself, he announced that he will not take the vaccine, and he against the vaccine passport.
He denies, he abolishes the vaccine passport.
Yes.
Yes, but do you know what that means? What's the reason he got to that point? It wasn't there was an incident, they wouldn't let him somewhere. Nobody knew he's the president, or there was a confusion a few days before that. Listening to the reports. And then he realized, even with the power of president, there is no need, because he was supposed to be immune. This is what we said in the other teachings, that the world leaders are immune from vaccination. They don't need to take it. This virus knows who's the leader and it won't touch. And he was on the assumption and the promises that were given that world leaders don't need vaccination, they'll be okay, and they don't take it. But they could go everywhere, they won't get affected. And when he was faced, I think he was with his son or with his entourage, somewhere he wasn't allowed, in New York, I think, if I'm correct. And then when he went back, he said, because he was given a surety that they won't get the virus, he doesn't need vaccination. Now he abolished it. And this is a very clear work how the finance world has become what you call the Satans with the rest of it. We knew about this, we warned this a few, 2-3 weeks ago, that the leaders, mayors, high-ranking civil servants don't need vaccination. How come? So it's not Satan, and the world peace is the same. The world peace is in the hand of these people till it doesn't come to their own homes or their own ground. Has no meaning for them. Doesn't apply to them. The Satan of the man is the man himself, nothing else. It is not created by God, it's created by man for man, and it's the way to control the weak. Would you like to hear you simultaneously translating in the background?
Yes, I'm translating the background.
We don't have Satans. Satan's man-made by man for man. Any other question?
Well, B. Berman in the YouTube asks, how can we evolve towards higher vibrational frequencies of love, cooperation, and spirituality if we are constantly faced with man-made pandemics executed by ego-driven, greedy leaders?
Don't know. They think they're above everything till they become part of it. This is the biggest problem. This is one of the biggest problem is these people, the minute they get the seat of power, or they get said, some people say to them, yes sir, the whole commotion of trying to do things. We see more and more of it. And it's one of the major corporations has reported a massive profit, which has come out of this situation of what do you call energy, what called plasma energy transfers that we all know what we're talking about. And he was very proud that this corporation has made so much profit with the death of so many other people. They don't care. And he says we're going to make more profit next year. Read the articles. And what I say very simply is we would like to see him and his family and his loved ones in the next few months and years. How? They have to stand the time of balancing of the whole field. The biggest problem is we don't, when these people at the power are at power, we see them. But we don't follow them. When they leave the seats, the chairmans, head of organizations, board leaders, and the rest of it, and we don't follow into the structure of their life, and you see how horrible they live, what the things happens to them, the things they go through. Even when they're in a position of power, they have things that's so much hidden by them, for them. And you have to see what happened to these afterwards. We see it now with Netanyahu, the Israeli leader, or ex-prime minister. And the way this guy was getting energy by creating hatred and lies and what they call deception. What did this guy got from by deception? Just feeling he can do. It's something interesting because it's come up in the negotiation, some documentation. If you remember, 4 or 5 years ago, through our connections in the American security, we approached Netanyahu for peace talks with Iran and started dialogue. He wanted a week, and then a few more days later, he says, I'll negotiate with anyone but Keshe, because he'll get his way. And then we realized why. He has used Keshe Foundation reactors in his designs to provoke Iran as a nuclear power. That's why he cannot talk to Keshe, because he's used his space reactors by lying and cheating as being a nuclear bomb Iran is developing. And he openly has presented it. I've shown this picture before. He cannot sit on the same table and negotiate with us when he has used us to create so much fear and pain to millions of people in Iran. And all the hatreds we see. I have shown this before. When I go through the archives of the pictures, why this man has such a behavior? Why has he used the Keshe Foundation reactors in presenting to the world leaders as a nuclear weapon, and is bought, and some of the actions of world governments against Iran is actually the design of our nuclear reactors, space technology. How evil this guy has been. He cannot look in your eye or negotiate with you when he has used your technology, your reactor, to fool the others into accepting that the nation is developing a nuclear bomb. It's unbelievable. And these people, at a point of power, they can do. We are planning to take this into court in Israel against Netanyahu. Deception. And being in the point of power and having absolutely an idiot in the White House as a president, or in a way collaboration between the two, this has become a point of sanctions. Why do people at the point of power do such things? No wonder he won't negotiate with us, because he has used the Keshe space reactors in the same picture, and he has made it to be a nuclear bomb. 90% of the fear of present negotiation, it is in our what they call communication with the 5+1. How come Americans have accepted this foolishness? It's exactly the same pictures from our teaching has been used by a world leader to bring sanctions on a nation which just have no intention of developing a nuclear weapon. And now, even our own leaders in Iran were not aware of how we got to this point. You as knowledge seekers work, build reactors, we work together to create a condition of peace, to show the technology, and a twisted-minded, what I call demented, fear-driven guy has used our technology. It's literally, I went through when I saw these pictures in the same emotion as a Nobel, where we got the Nobel Prize, where he saw what they wrote about him. But what he brought to me, how my technology, how a reactor which I developed to bring peace for humanity has been used by two world leaders, most demented leaders we ever known, and it's become a cause of sanctions on Iran. And it's absolutely, we cannot go back. We cannot go back, we cannot change how our reactors are used. Our work as us as knowledge seekers is used. This just came to me from Azar. Rick, I send you this and play it. And then you see, you knowledge seekers, we are peacemakers, and how we're abused by, because this is what we have now on negotiation. We're trying to explain to the Americans that this picture, this thing, is part of Iran space technology. Rick is on your Telegram. Look at it. You knowledge seekers know the both pictures are part of our teaching. Have you received it?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, just getting it up now.
Yeah, just, I don't know if you can, there's a copyright on it. It also BBC.
It's BBC. Do you want to risk playing it?
We're going to get brought down by BBC, you know that.
Well, they might put a copyright restriction, but it won't affect our channel.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
We won't get damaged?
No.
Play.
But they might put ads on, or they might even take down the video, but we can put it up without this ad in it again. Or without this video, rather.
Don't. Just take a screenshot of the reactor, I think, and try to cover it.
Yeah, we can show a picture of...
and take BBC on the corner.
Just the picture.
This is a public
Instead
picture.
of playing the video, I'll show a picture of the video.
Yeah.
That should be fine.
And then
so
you
we'll do
see,
that.
and then you see him embracing Trump. This is part of our problem at the moment. How our world leaders lie and cheat using the most advanced technology to bring peace to mankind. IEA has a problem with this picture because it's on the table. Nobody can deny it anymore. Biden has a problem with this picture because his team has to go back and say Trump has trumped the whole nation. This is part of our problem. If you see it, then you understand how difficult the job is for Keshe Foundation. We worked on trying to bring a peace program. We developed a space technology, and just look at the picture. A world leader lying in public to bring crimes and bombing and killing by cheating. You all know this reactor. It's a copy of the Iranian space reactor. This picture, as part of the video, which shows the flag of Israel, brings shames on the flag and the nation. Your space reactor, just look at the way they show inside it. I think some of you did the test. We've shown the structure of inside the open this reactor. They're using our technology in a way to create the condition of fear. And they call it designing a nuclear weapons. Design of Iranian, what they call it, simulation. If you go back and look at some of your knowledge seekers as working in the lab have seen it. This is the reactor. You see it. My knowledge to bring peace has been used by the most heinous men, two world leaders, to bring sanctions and killing and dying of children in Iraq. This is why we take the love of God from the nation of, not a nation, from the tribe of Moses. When you look at these, and when I see it as an inventor, as developer, and I see what I brought and the purpose, and what is being made to be and brought sanctions, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people suffering with the lying and cheating of this people. And then the beautiful thing about it is the Belgians have passed these to the Iranians to say, I'm a Israeli terrorist. They all lived within my home and sabotaged everything from inside. Lies and cheats. All work together to bring the most beautiful technology to be the most heinous, lining their bank accounts and men in their beds. Now you understand when I say I'm ashamed to be in the clothes of men. It is not easy when you face these things and then you have to fight to overcome a lie. To fight, to show how proud these people are to be part of this, that these people have brought to us. Are you there, Rick?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, just trying to figure out what image to put on next here.
Yeah, no problem.
Want to go back to that,
but
the one we had on?
No,
or
it's no
something
problem.
different?
But it's no problem. But in reality, it's for us, it's a shame to see our technology has been put in, and this has brought a big pressure on IAEA. This picture and the picture of the Keshe Foundation, the space reactors, in past week has brought mayhem in IAEA. They do not know how to handle this, how to how to work with it. How can they go back and tell nations we accepted the lie? So IEA is doing its best to cover up this. And the Americans are running rat from this. This picture is a picture of a murderer, a terrorist, a most evil man I could ever known to exist in the time of my life, where you deliberately go out to do such a damage. Tomorrow morning in negotiations, these things have to be solved. Americans don't know how to handle it. The Americans, the Biden organization doesn't know how to explain this to the world that we've been cheated. IEA is trying to distance itself as far as it can from this position. And what can we do? We teach the technology as messenger of peace for you to learn how to go to space. Now we get the most evil man on this planet, two of them. Then celebrating. If you go in a further in this video, you see the two devils, what they call Satans, hugging each other. There, under the American flag. We lied, we cheated. How do we share the loot? By selling weapons to the Arabs. This is where we have the problem. This is where we define pain in the technology. This is where I cannot find words to describe it, to explain it, but how do we explain this to our people? How can we explain this to people that tool for elevation of the man, for science and technology, has been used the wrong way and deliberately, and they're celebrating doing it. Any other question?
We have a hand up with Kay. Kay, would you like to go ahead, please?
Good morning, Rick. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
God bless. Good morning. Good morning to all the knowledge seekers. God bless you all. And Mr. Keshe, good morning. Very good morning to you. And thanks for everything that you do. All the energy that you put in this negotiation, especially, and bless you for all the unconditional time and effort and life that you put in. And hopefully, with grace of God, things will go to the direction that you're wishing. I want to say something. I want to ask something. It may sound really funny at first, but perhaps if you look a little bit deeply, maybe it means something else. Those leaders, those countries who are superior, is there any way we could take that superiority away from them so they don't feel the arrogance?
Bless their soul. Elevate their soul.
Apart from that, a quicker way.
Even that, when we say we take the love of God from a tribe, it means we give it to them, but their soul will not accept. It's not punishment by us, it's punishment by themselves, to themselves. We don't punish. When we say we take the love of God, it means we give, but they cannot receive it, because They punished them. So they blocked receiving.
Mr. Keshe, is there any? Sorry.
It is the way these world leaders don't understand till they come to the point of themselves to be. We used to have friends, close friends from Iraq, and at a very high level before when Saddam was in position and power. And the things we used to say to tell us is that people used to have weddings in hiding from the fear of Saddam and his sons. What they used to do, come and take the brides on their wedding. They used to hide their brides in rooms and basements for these evil people not to get to, where there was a point of celebration. And then what we saw what happened to Saddam. He himself hid underground. What he did to the other people came to himself. They live that cycle. How long do they hide under that ground for every step which goes over them and might be found out? We've seen this again and again. We've seen we can't do much, but they do it to themselves. Where is the reality, and what do world leaders do with themselves is another point after they do these kind of things. What we see in next couple of generations, there shall be no sign, anyone who will follow Moses. Couple of more generations. Because they become enlightened to the truth and the way their leaders and their way they were set up. In a way, people used to hide to call themselves. This time, openly, they walk away from it. The same will come with Vatican, and the same will come with others, where the people see the truth about how and what reality is. By the end of this century, there will be no Jews left. Not by elimination, but by choice not to be. The name of Judaism will be on the paper, and soon it will come out on paper. We don't say the end of the state. We call the elevation of the soul of those who understand it and walk away from it. Well, how wrong has been. How does every Israeli feels when they know with such a cheating child these pictures by the leader, children are dying in Iran with sanctions. This is the way they make their own people to walk away from their own belief.
My wish is, Mr. Keshe, for what you just talked about earlier about Netanyahu and Trump going on about the lie of the century, my wish is that comes into light as soon as possible.
It is on the light. It's on our documentation to IAEA in 5+1. It's on the table of 5+1, this picture.
Hopefully it'll be in a mass media, and they have a way to
No,
get
they
rid of
won't
it anyhow.
allow it to come out. It's on BBC. It can't be more mass media than BBC. You understand?
Yes.
But connecting it to where it comes from, this morning, during these teachings today, I have communication with IAEA in the background. They don't know what to do. They say we leave it, we can't do anything with it.
Well, Mr. Keshe.
This is during the teaching of this morning. IAEA officers are in the shock because they supported it.
Well, Mr. Keshe, we've been there. Sorry, we've been there before. I mean, not too, not so far distant past. If you remember, obviously they cooked up all that, rubbish about weapon of mass destruction of the Iraqis and 45 minutes to heart of London and all that rubbish. They went in there, killed a few million, and then said, "Oops, there was a flaw in our intelligence." They can just simply do that if they want to. The point is, the will is not there. The United Nations was involved in that raid or occupation and destruction of a nation with all nonsense that they built up. Just exactly that they built up. Netanyahu and Trump built up this nonsense about Keshe Foundation's reactor, which is supposed to be the most important piece of technology in the history of mankind. They can easily, revert everything back, and if they want to, bring it into, open and say, "Look, sorry, oops, we made a mistake. Somebody told a lie," and they always have sacrificial lamb. They wouldn't care about Netanyahu.
No,
Trump.
you know what the Americans are doing.
Yeah.
Oh, this was part of it. This is not all of it. You understand?
Yeah. Open more mystery.
When you go, if you are in Vienna, we go to the conference. The conference is like on one side, and in front of you there's a camp of tent of reporters, flashing and doing. These reporters are told what they can record, what they can serve back to their headquarters to show.
Yeah.
You understand? We have the Iranian channel. If you go there every day, they are there. It's usual, what you call, celebrity show. They go on lunch, they come back. And they're there just only to wind it that it has something. And how can we put this? Even our own Iranian channel, television channels are not prepared to bring it out in Iran.
Shame on them.
This is, when you go to this conference, it's like a cat show. The catwalk?
Yeah.
That's all it is. The American negotiating team has sent 2 or 3 to Vienna. The rest are sitting in London. When we can bring the Iranians on their knees, then we fly.
Mr. Keshe, sorry if I may.
Somebody says, very interesting. Somebody says, tell them to visit the Landscape Expo to see the atomic energy in person so they can have a good laugh. We already done that. We have prepared that. They are fully aware of the, the structure. We, thanks to the Keshe Foundation team in, in Austria, in Linz, we have made everything prepared, ready for the visit with IE. They come, we've been told they have come at night and they have visited the center in secrecy. And it's very interesting. We had a report that while the exhibition center in Linz was closed down, the Americans and the European scientists have been allowed to go in and investigate our technology. You've been to the exhibition yourself, you came for the opening. And this is today. The exhibition is set completely to show the diversity in the technology. They've been there like thieves at night.
Not that they would understand anything.
We have knowledge seekers who work with them.
I'm sure they wouldn't understand anything.
Ashamedly, we have knowledge seekers who work with them.
It's a lot of shifting, Mr. Keshe. Everything gone to the basement.
Yes. Now, downstairs has become the space technology. Done this week.
Bless you.
Thanks to the team in Linz, here in Vienna.
Mr. Keshe, can I say something, please? I wanted to continue in that first statement, little statement I made, or bonkers it may sound, but to take away the superiority, it appears to me, to those arrogant nations, is to take their advanced technology away from them, mute them somehow. I know it is, it sounds really out of this world, but I'm sure there is a way we could mute those very tools that they have, which gives them the power of superiority. Once they don't exist, they'll become humble.
Didn't happen to us as a Persian Empire. And now we become humble and they see it as a weakness. This is the problem. By that time, I'm sure when we had the Persian Empire and before the empire became an empire, our leaders did the same to the other nations. It wasn't that everybody came and became part of it. There must have been atrocities.
Yes, there have been.
So have we matured for 300 years, not crossing our borders? How long do we have to wait for them to mature?
We need a catalyst, Mr. Keshe. I don't know how. I know.
The catalyst is a new technology.
Yes.
But the time for it starts from next Tuesday.
We wish from our soul.
We know from our soul. And everything is under the control of what we call incompetent people who reach to the point. And the beauty of it is, whatever man needs to survive in the space under this planet is under this roof. If you understand it, in a way, for the first time, if you open the picture, I don't know if you can see it as I open it, you see the first time we show the horizontal system in public. In this machine, I can grow your leg, I can change your heart. Next to it, you see the brain system. Next to it, you see the vertical system. Next to it, you see the original enhancement unit for dense plasmas. And it's beautiful to see how the man has strived for thousands of years. It's gathered on the one. And if you look at just above it, you see the reactor, the space reactor in the center, the one which Netanyahu has used. Any other question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. God bless you. Maybe see you too. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have some questions in the chat here. Let's see. Mazar mentioned, why don't you put the negotiators in the enhancement unit before they sit for negotiation? Like when you go to the airport and they send you through this scanner unit to check you.
Check the brain, you mean, for the souls.
Yeah, well, maybe they need to check their brain in at the door and just negotiate with their souls instead.
I don't know. You know, years ago, I used to work for IEA, and we used to work in a cow shed. And the way we used to enter and exit was in a way, a funny way. You went to work in a farm, and it was so strange that a few times the discussions was that that time was a lot of things to do with Russia, that the Russians have cameras hidden in the trees watching who comes, goes in the center. And the joke was even some of the cows has got a camera in different positions in their bodies that they can see, or when people go out walking in the fields talking. Because when it was something very confidential, we were told you always don't speak in the building or others can hear you. So very confidential things was talked in the garden, walking. You could see a lot of people walking together. So it's a strange way. It's a strange, very, very strange. At the moment, IEA has literally been snookered with what is on the table of negotiation and why the sanctions were. Once you create doubt in one position and you can strengthen it, then doubt comes on the rest of it. And this is part of Keshe Foundation job, not to create a doubt, but show the facts. At the moment, IEA chiefs in Vienna are literally running like rats. How to bring a country who's supposed to be developing nuclear weapon is the space technology is used by nations to put sanctions on it. IEA, Mr. Grossi at the moment is on the run with this. He's got to answer to Iran. Why has he supported, why IEA has supported sanctions when there is no proof, and relies on the lie of the two presidents. One of our negotiators yesterday said something very nice. What Russian girl did get to bed of Trump to get him to do this? This is a massive, massive problem today sits for IEA, who has supported nuclear sanctions where lies has been placed. They do not know how to handle it. They literally don't know how to handle this situation.
Well, in a way, Mr. Keshe, it seems like perhaps the greatest blessing to have Mr. Nataran, who expounding about the technology, because many rational people around the world are used to and know about his alteration of reality that he presents at his presentations in the past. And, you know, I've seen that years ago, and I just start laughing sometimes when I see the ridiculousness of his exaggerations and reports and so on. So perhaps this is a blessing in a way, because it brings it to the surface and makes it so people will have to address it. People, the negotiators,
we have a big
will
problem.
be forced.
We have a very big problem. This slide, this presentation slide, which is the biggest problem now in the negotiation is not the negotiation prior to 2015. Is the new sanctions which is brought because of this picture, this video by Netanyahu to Trump. This is the biggest problem. This is the biggest problem for us. With this picture, with this document on the table, all the sanctions are irrelevant. But the Americans don't want to accept. In a way, I'll read you a part of the text of this, which is very interesting. It's very interesting that we put it in a very, very polite way. It says, now who has fooled who? Iran advanced nuclear space plasma technology has become weapon technology by misrepresentation and deception. Deception. And the Americans, to confirm they've been deceived, they have a big problem to sell it to the nation. Iran new advanced nuclear plasma technology is a space program development. The system developed is to allow man to travel in deep space, to produce any material as he needs in space without returning to Earth for supply. And the biggest problem is American confirming they've been deceived. American confirming to be deceived. And a nation to speak with their president to confirm they've been deceived brings question mark on other decisions they have made. At the moment, we are in negotiation in the break point with this documentation. Because this makes the sanctions absolutely ridiculous. I'm back in this afternoon, hopefully, or tomorrow morning. And we want this to be opened up. The Americans have to answer why they placed a sanction on the right. Why didn't they how they did not check their, sanction policy. It's amazing now, you know, as knowledge seekers, how you sit in the center of negotiations, this is the fear they have, that Keshe Foundation, everything goes public. Now you can see how our technology as knowledge seekers, people like Arban and others who came to the Sensano, they brought their reactors, they built it themselves. Your reactors now is used as a weapon technology for the nations who abused. The lack of knowledge by the others about the work of the foundation. I see myself responsible for every suffering in Iran when my technology has been used this way, sanctions added to. And then I'm ashamed to have another person who lived with me sending it to tell them the way is done by lies and deception. When you mislead, when you are there, where you're, this part of their life, this deception. Whatever has been said, whatever is done, then is given back to. And I'll show you something very interesting. Very, very interesting. And they are proud to show how they have spied and they have delivered documents as lies to the other nations, how they lied to it. And the fact is, how alert do we become our technology not to be misrepresented? You see, there's a difference between us and them. This is us as joint, as knowledge seekers, American knowledge seekers. And this is us as knowledge seekers in another continent. And this is them using the same knowledge. We promote peace through the same knowledge. And they use our knowledge to create sanctions and pain. Any other question?
We have some other questions on YouTube.
Should we call it a day?
Maybe so. We have a number of other random questions, but you've answered quite a bit for today.
Thank you very much. And let's see what comes up and how we succeed in these works.
Well, one thing I know, Mr. Keshe, when you are confronted with the challenge, when you're confronted with a lemon, you find a way to make lemonade out of it. So we all wish you the best, and we put our intentions and toward elevating this situation as much as each of us are able.
We'll see what we can do. We'll see what we have to do. We see how we can shape the future the correct. Thank you very much for today's teaching. And hopefully we'll find another way to enlighten you next time and next generation. Thank you very much, Rick. I'll see you next week.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for attending today's 411th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 16th, 2021. You see, we have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice coming up on Tuesday. Let me just get the date here. Tuesday, December 21st. And people are welcome to attend that and listen to members of the Universal Council and ask questions in that workshop. Okay, I think that's it for now. And we'll see you all back again next week at this same time and place as well. So I'll play the Christmas bundle once again, and we'll go out with the Spaceship Unit music version. Okay, thanks everyone.